Hey guys, what's going on? So they just released a 5-minute gameplay trailer and a 2-minute announcement trailer for Revelations. So I wanted to go through them and break them down and just do a quick analysis on it because there's quite a few things that caught my eye that I wanted to go over. So let's get into it. So the first thing is actually right at the beginning here, and it's this shot of Sephiroth holding Cloud in his arms while he's got the one wing expanded. You can also see that it zooms in on his eye in the exact same way that it does for Cloud in part 1 and 2, whenever he has a recollection of a memory that he shouldn't have in his deluded state at that point in time. So it's interesting that they've chose to use that animation on Sephiroth. I wonder what's going on there. Either way, this scene of Sephiroth holding Cloud in his arms, we're going to return to that near the end of the video, just because they have an extended version of that scene in the 2-minute announcement trailer that we're going to go over at the end. So I'll come back to that because it is really interesting when you get the extended clip. Now here we just have a quick run through of our adversaries. Obviously starting with Rufus, going through Hojo, and then obviously ending with Sephiroth. But coming back to that Hojo scene very quickly, I think that this is the point in the story where he's going to inject himself with Genova cells. Because in the original game we never get to see him do that. When we come into contact with him in Midgar near the end of the game, he just announces that he infused Genova cells within himself. I think what we're seeing here is him actually contemplating doing it. So that's really cool that we'll get to see that, I think. Right, and after Hojo, we have what I think is Sephiroth and Cloud in the Northern Crater. Now, I think this is the first visit when you go and see Sephiroth's real body, or where his real body ended up after it dispersed into the live stream. So that's nice to see. Obviously, we've got the airship here. Apparently, we're going to be getting the airship a lot earlier in the game than what they originally planned out to, because they want us to be able to use the airship basically from the beginning. I think it's going to be so sick that we can explore essentially the whole of Gaia from the beginning of the next game. So it's going to be like, it's almost going to be like putting in the third disc of the original game, because it's like you've got the whole game to you once you go on to disc 3. So that's a cool kind of accidental retro callback, if you will. Sorry, we've also got the diving system, a la Breath of the Wild, if you will. That's nice to see. That's going to be really fun. Okay, now we've got this beautiful shot of the Northern Crater from a distance. It looks absolutely amazing. I can't wait till we get to this section. Okay, in this next scene, we have the party going into this big open area in the Northern Crater, or the Northern Cave, actually. I'm not sure which one of the two this is. But this is definitely going to be the first big open explorable area for when we do get to the Northern Cave. Okay, in this gameplay segment, check out this scene here. This looks to be the party fighting against what I believe is going to be tendrils that appear during the Northern Cave Genova fight. So this is going to be what was the Genova Deaths boss fight from the original game. And as you can see here, there's some tendrils coming out the ground, just like there was in the Genova Dreamweaver and the 2 Genova fights we get in Rebirth. But we're actually going to get a better look at this boss fight in the scene coming up in a second. So let's have a quick look at Vincent and Cid's gameplay, and then we will get to that boss fight when it comes up. Now, I'm really looking forward to this, man. For someone that's been a fan since the very beginning, I can assure you I am very much looking forward to them being able to basically perfect Dirge Cerberus's really clunky gameplay. Let's be fair, it's a fun game, but it is just insanely clunky. So it's nice that Vincent sort of gets a redemption arc here. His gameplay looks sick. It's nice to see that the Gallant Beast and his other transformations aren't going to be just a limit break. It looks like they are going to be a core component to his gameplay, sort of like Cloud's Punisher mode. Here we have Cid, my favourite characters of all time. It's a shame he's not got a cigarette in his mouth, but I'll take what I can get. His gameplay looks really good. It looks really fluid, really aerial, sort of like Kingdom Hearts 2, actually, now that I think about it. The way that you transition into the air like that looks really fluid, looks really fun. Now, this was a really nice surprise. So, for those of you that don't know, the job system is essentially something that's been in Final Fantasy since the beginning, and it's a way that you can change your character's loadout, sort of like you see Tifa here being changed into like a black mage, which is a really cool idea. At the end here, she even says, "I'll make you proud," which is obviously her talking to Aerith. That's so sweet, it makes me cry. But yeah, anyway, this was a real surprise for me. I really didn't see this coming. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they'll implement the job system into a modern Final Fantasy, one that isn't Stranger of Paradise. It looks like it's going to be implemented in a similar way, though, so that looks fun. Here we have, I don't know if this is meant to be Emerald Weapon. If it is, cool. I sort of like the redesign, and obviously it's got the big emerald materia in its chest, so maybe it is, but the weapons being a more integral part of the story is going to be real cool. His Tifa escaping from Shimra. Okay, here is the promised better look at that Genova fight. Now, this isn't going to be the end game Genova fight, just so you all know. This looks to be Genova Death's boss fight from the Northern Crater, just like I said before. So this is looking awesome. This looks exactly like how, well, it looks exactly like how Genova looked like in FF7, sort of like an expansion on how they did with the Genova Dreamweaver. That was sort of like how she looks in the original, because in the original game, whenever you refight the birth, life, and death forms, they're all the same, the same monster model, but just recolored. So it's nice that we're getting such drastically different designs for each of her different forms, because she is meant to be a shapeshifter after all. Now we've got Cloud being circled by what looks like one of Sephiroth's darker whisperers, and you also have Barrett and Vincent at what looks like the bottom of the northern crater, or the northern cave. Like I said, I'm not quite sure. And then at the end there, we get a little glimpse of the weapon that attacks Junon, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so that's everything that I wanted to show you all in that 5-minute trailer. So now, if you don't mind, we're just going to switch over to the other 2-minute trailer so I can give you a look at that extended clip of Cloud and Sephiroth before we go. Okay, so in this next clip here, we start by looking at what I believe is the nebula you see at the edge of creation. We look down to the surface of Gaia, and look what we see. So here's the extended look at that scene of Cloud and Sephiroth. I'll slow it down so you can see it. As you can see, we have all of his robed disciples reaching up to him and Cloud. Cloud, the one perfect clone of Sephiroth, with all the imperfect clones below it. So it's obvious now that this scene of Cloud and Sephiroth is the one that takes place at the end of the Northern Cave once all of the robed disciples have made their way there and Cloud, and then the reunion theory kicks off. I believe that what we're seeing with the disciples reaching up to him like a god is going to be what the reunion theory looks like when we get to it in Revelation. So I'm really looking forward to that. It looks amazing. And I really love this shot here. Check this out. Look, we zoom right into Sephiroth's eye, into the activation of the black materia. Boom, straight into the meteor. What a clean shot. But yeah, this looks amazing. Obviously, the next scene is when Meteor is called in. You can see it just above Midgar there. And then obviously for basically the whole game, just like what you get for the whole entirety of disc 3 in the original game, you'll have that meteor overhead the whole time, which is just such a cool idea. I really miss how they did that in the original, so it's really cool that they're bringing that back here. And this next scene is right after Cloud's mind breaks in the northern crater. Once Sephiroth has been handed the black materia and Meteor gets called in, that's when the weapons start rising up. And my god, look at these dudes. I'm sorry, but the graphics probably do these guys so much more justice than the characters. They just look incredibly imposing. First one coming up out the ground there is Diamond Weapon, if I'm not mistaken. And then the next one here is Ultima Weapon. I am looking forward to him, not just because of how cool of a boss he looks, but also that's where you get Cloud's ultimate weapon from, so hopefully they keep that the same. There you go, after another little look at them at the Northern Crater, we get a little bit of the airship flying. This looks amazing. Can't wait for this. You can see Meteor in the back there, just like I was talking about. Okay, this next part's sick. We get a better look at the weapons altogether. So here we have a better look at Emerald weapon. He looks very imposing. And then we'll get a better look at Ultima weapon in a second. But just first, look, we get a little brief look at Ruby weapon. That looks amazing. Ultima weapon looks great. Can't wait to fight these guys, man. They're going to be fantastic. I hope they're just as hard as the original, at least. Right, one last thing of note I want to look at before we go, but just before that, we get a quick look at the party on the airship here. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is going to be just before we go to fight Sephiroth, at the very end of the original game, when Cloud tells all of the guys to go and find their individual reason for fighting. I think this is exactly what we're seeing here. Okay, and the last thing of note that I want to talk about before we go, this really interesting scene of Sephiroth. You get a really quick cut of him holding his head, sort of like Cloud does whenever he has a memory spasm. But then at the very end, you can see him brandishing not just the white materia, but a restored white materia. So I don't know when in the story this is meant to be at, but I'm very intrigued by it at the very least. Okay, right. Well, that's everything that I wanted to point out from that, guys. If there's anything that you guys seen that I missed, please point it out to me because I want to know if I've missed something. But thank you all very much for your time. I very much appreciate that. This is the first full breakdown that I've ever done of something, so please let me know if there's anything I can do to improve. But again, thank you all very much for your time. I will see you all later. Enjoy the rest of your day. Oh yes, sorry, and I'll be releasing more Final Fantasy content from now all the way up until when Revelations comes out. So like and subscribe if that's something that interests you, of course. I'd love to have you along for the ride. But remember, like they say in the OG, once you get on, there ain't no getting off this train, son.